Hey everybody, it's Jordan from don'tbuythehype.blogspot.com here to give you a preview of this weekend's NFL Wild Card round. Obviously got 4 games this weekend, so let's get right to the picks. We'll go in chronological order first today. Saturday at 4:30 is going to be the Houston Texans playing at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think this is going to be a great game. Honestly, for me, this is probably the hardest of the 4 to come up with a pick for. Houston obviously lost their last 3 ball games. They didn't close the season strong. There's a lot to be said about teams, not finishing strong and then being able to try to flip the switch come playoff time. Cincinnati has been playing well behind a rookie quarterback all season in Andy Dalton. If you look at it, this kind of reminds me of a game a few years back where Matt Ryan was a rookie for the Atlanta Falcons. Going on the road to Arizona, a place that was really hungry, a hungry football team, a hostile crowd, hostile environment. And obviously the Falcons, Matt Ryan didn't play that well. Thanks to Lawyer Malloy and some bad coverage in the secondary, the Falcons lost that game. Rookie quarterbacks going on the road generally don't have much success in the playoffs. However, if you look opposite Andy Dalton today, you'll look at T.J. Yates, who is probable to start for the Houston Texans today. Obviously not their starting quarterback. The quarterback battle there honestly probably is going to be won by Andy Dalton. I think he's the better of the 2 quarterbacks. Houston does have a great offensive line. That's going to be the key to the ball game to me. If they can keep T.J. Yates upright, keep him from taking a lot of hits, getting injured, I think that's really going to benefit Houston. The ground game, obviously, with Arian Foster, that's going to be big for Houston as well today. They've got to give T.J. Yates help. If Cincinnati's able to shut down the run game and make T.J. Yates beat him with the arm, then it's not going to happen. Also got to keep him upright and injured. If not, then you're looking at trying to finish a playoff game with Jake Delhomme. That's obviously not going to work. Going back to the Matt Ryan game I was telling you about earlier, they had he was facing Kurt Warner that day, and obviously the Cardinals got hot, made it all the way to the Super Bowl. I don't necessarily see that today with the Houston Texans. I think, like I said earlier, it's awfully difficult to flip the switch come playoff time. Texans have lost their last 3 ball games. A lot of injuries and things. My pick for this game, I'm actually going to take the Cincinnati Bengals. I know a lot of folks are taking the Texans. I'll take the Bengals. I'll say Cincinnati 27, Houston 21. Now for the next game, for tonight's game, you're looking at the New Orleans Saints playing at home against the Detroit Lions. This will probably be one of the more exciting, or probably the most exciting of the 4 playoff games, maybe with the exception of a possible Green Bay and New Orleans NFC Championship game. If you love offense, this is probably the best game to watch. Obviously Matthew Stafford throwing for 5,000 yards. Somehow this year did not make the Pro Bowl. That's probably the biggest Pro Bowl snub I can remember in recent history. Obviously had incredible numbers this year. The Detroit Lions have an excellent offense. There are some question marks there on defense. We'll see this as we continue to go out throughout the playoffs. To me, I think Green Bay and New Orleans are probably the 2 best teams in the league right now. New Orleans is they're just too good. They do have question marks defensively. For Detroit to win this game, they're going to have to start fast. They're going to have to score a couple of touchdowns early, make the Saints press a little bit. Even so, the Saints are able to score so many points that they really don't need to press. They can fall behind, a touchdown or 2, and they can make that up in 2 or 3 minutes. They're just an unbelievable offense. Obviously, I like the Lions. I think there's a bright future there. I think this is not going to be the end of their playoff runs. Going into the future years, I think the Lions will be back, and I think they are going to get stronger and they are going to get better behind a great coach in Jim Schwartz. But this year, I think the New Orleans Saints are just too good. In terms of scoring, I think this will be a fun game. I am going to pick the Saints. I will say New Orleans 41, Detroit 31. That's going to be my pick for that one. Let's go to the Sunday games. The Sunday 1 o'clock game. This is obviously my favorite as a Falcons fan. We got the Falcons against the New York Giants. A lot of play in the media this week. Justin Tuck coming out earlier in the week, calling the Falcons offensive line out, called them dirtbags, said they play through the whistle, cheap shot and all that kind of stuff. That's a reputation the Falcons have earned. But I don't really think that's going to come into play a lot. If anything, I think maybe he was trying to turn the officials' attention toward that. It's very similar to, kind of on the sidebar, it's very similar to in college football with Georgia Tech. A lot of folks talk about Georgia Tech's chop blocks. So it's interesting to watch early in the game. A lot of times they'll get chop block penalties because the officials are expressly, intently looking out for those. But anyway, back to the game. To me, the matchup for this Falcons and Giants game is going to be that Falcons offensive line against the Giants defensive line. The Falcons are going to have to run the football. If Matt Ryan throws the ball 40 times, the Falcons are going to lose. I really see that. We're going to have to run the football. Going to have to do it well. Going to have to do it early. The Falcons are not going to be able to go up there and get behind, fall behind 10 points in the first quarter, 14 points in the first quarter. If that's the case, it could get ugly. The Falcons are going to have to run the football with Michael Turner. The offensive line is going to have to create some space. They're going to have to play nasty. They're going to have to be a nasty offensive line. Cut blocks, those kind of things. That's illegal. One of the things that really hacks me off about people that consider themselves football fans, they don't understand the difference between a cut block and a chop block. Cut blocks are perfectly legal. Hey, the more times that Justin Tuck's bending over, picking up his legs, going back to the huddle after he gets cut, the better off the Falcons are going to be. If the Falcons do fall behind, that's going to make Matt Ryan throw the football. Jason Pierre-Paul, Osi Umenyiora, Justin Tuck, those guys are going to be able to start teeing off on Matt Ryan. I don't know if the Falcons are going to be able to, to keep him upright if that's the situation where they're having to throw every down. That said, I think that the Giants are probably the most overrated team in this year's playoffs. A lot has been said about how good the Giants are. Eli Manning makes the Pro Bowl, even though to me he wasn't half the quarterback this year that Matthew Stafford was in Detroit. But if you look at the scores this year, the Giants have been outscored this year. They've actually scored less points than their opponents. Everybody wants to make this big deal about the weather and the home field advantage the Giants have. You realize the Giants are 4-4 at home this year, a 500 team at home. That's not very impressive. The Falcons, on the other hand, are 4-4 on the road. They played really well on the road this year. And I think, the best thing that could have happened for the Atlanta Falcons this year was Drew Brees breaking that the passing yards record at the end of the ball game. I think that really pissed the Falcons off. And I think they're playing with a purpose now. You looked at it last week. 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. They're up 42-0 on the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are a professional football team. That's amazing. You just don't see 42-0 in the second quarter in the NFL. I think the Falcons are going to carry that effort over this week. I think they are going to play with a purpose. You look at the Giants. The Giants, I think people just assume the Giants are going to win because they're playing at home and they're the New York Giants. For me, my pick, I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to play with a purpose. They're going to come in. They're going to execute. They're going to play well. And for me, I'm saying Falcons 24, Giants 21. Last pick, the last game of the playoffs is going to be the afternoon, or actually be afternoon, the 4:30 game on Sunday between the Denver Broncos playing at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, this is one of those anomalies. Pittsburgh being a wild card, they've got to go on the road to Denver, who finished the season 8-8, but kind of backed into the AFC West Championship. As you see before on the blog, guys, I love Tim Tebow. I don't see it happening for Denver in this game. The only way it does happen is for Denver to get to Roethlisberger early, possibly knock him out of the game, or re-injure that ankle, whatever. Not saying they're going for it on purpose, but need to move Roethlisberger around out of the pocket. If they let him stand like a statue in the pocket, then he's probably going to pick that defense apart. For Denver, the defense has got to play. If you're relying on Tim Tebow and that offense to score, 28, 30 points to win the game, it's just not going to happen, especially against Pittsburgh's defense. In order for Denver to have a chance to win, they're probably going to have to hold Pittsburgh to one touchdown on offense. That's really kind of been the recipe when the Denver Broncos did get hot there in the middle of the season. You look at their games, all of them were low scoring. The defense was playing lights out, and then Tebow would take over in the fourth quarter, lead a touchdown drive or two, and they would win the football game. That said, I don't see Denver winning this game. I do think it is going to be a low-scoring game. I hope for the sake of the nation, I think it would be great if Tim Tebow could get his hands on the football there in the last 5 minutes with a chance to either come back and tie or win the game. But I don't see that happening. I think the final score here, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh 16, Denver 7. So there you have it. Those are my 4 picks for the wild card round. For Saturday's games, we got the Cincinnati Bengals and the New Orleans Saints, and then for Sunday's games, we got the Atlanta Falcons and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So hope you have a great couple of days enjoying the football playoffs. I'll be back tomorrow with my preview for the national championship game for Monday night between Alabama and LSU. And as always, guys, have a great day. God bless, and don't buy the hype.